This is ashcorr, and recently during the week I caught up with Rosie Byrne, who's not only a psychic but a spiritual healer who's also working on children's books at the moment. I'm here with somebody who got a reading off Rosie. Hi Caroline.
How are you?
Thanks a lot for giving me your time.
No problem at all.
Caroline, I know you got a reading off Rosie, and at the time she was actually fundraising for the Bubblegum Foundation. Do you want to tell me a bit about the reading you got off her? I know you were completely sceptical, like you said, before you actually went in there.
Yeah.
What did you get out of the reading? How did the reading go that really showed you what was being said to you was not, you know...
Her messing or...
Yeah, it wasn't,
no,
yeah.
Of course, yeah. When I went in, of course, there was she sat me down and said that, you know, there was somebody that wanted to speak to me, and she told me to pick a spot on pick a spot to sit down. I sat on the floor, and she sat down on the floor with me, and she put out the cards. And straight away she said she had a woman. And at the time, the only person I ever really wanted to connect with was my mother, who had died, you know, a few months beforehand.
Sorry to hear about that.
Thanks very much. And the first thing she said to me was, I want to let you know that the person I'm speaking to is connected with you. I'm going to ask you a question and I'd like you to verify it. So she asked me, what's the story with the strawberry jam? So I explained to her how my mother had made herself sick when she was pregnant on my oldest brother by eating strawberries from jam. It had something to do with the sugar, had made her very ill. So it was kind of like a running joke within the family.
So did you actually get the reading done in your house, or was it a...
No, it was a friend of mine's house. What happened was I wasn't even planning on getting a reading done. I had just gone out for the night. I was staying overnight and was sitting in the kitchen with my friend's family.
Okay.
And come the end of the night, everybody had gone in and got their reading, and my friend had come out saying, you know, she keeps asking who's Eileen and David. Of course, my friend had no clue, and I, for some reason, just didn't make a connection.
So they were actually coming in through your friends reading?
Yeah.
Not actually your... Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 7 months before my mum died, her brother David had died. So even when, you know, she was coming out and saying, I don't know who these people are, I just never made the connection.
Completely oblivious, not
Yeah.
thinking that. Yeah.
Exactly. So after she asked the first initial question, she asked me, or she told me that my sister was pregnant, which we knew at the time because she was heavily pregnant. And she also told me she knew what the sex of the baby was going to be. She asked me, did I know? And I said yes. And she said, I think it's a girl. Now, we knew it was a girl because, you know, my sister
So she
had
didn't ruin
found
any
out.
surprises for you, no? Your...
No, she didn't. What she also done at the time was, and I suppose this is when, not that I didn't believe her beforehand, but this was the one thing that really kind of caught me, was she had said, your sister is thinking about calling the baby after your mother. And my mother's name was Irene. And I said yes. And she says, your mother is telling me, don't do that to the child. So she knew, you know, don't do that. So in the end, my sister didn't. She called her a different name, but her second name is Irene. So it's her first name, Irene, and then the surname. Then, you know, she was coming across with things like, you know, my granny was there and she was holding a baby. And basically, again, there was a child, an infant that had died in the family. And she said also that my Uncle David was there, but that David didn't really have anything to say. He had just helped my mother through. He just, you know, it was like my spirit family were there.
You spoke to me earlier on, you were telling me a bit about a couple of days before your mum died. She had sat with you and said, just give me a few more days. And you thought she was speaking about a move that you were doing in the house to one room to another room.
Yeah.
Go into that with what Rosie actually said to you about that moment.
Basically, what she had said was, well, first of all, we when it did happen, it was myself and my uncle were in the room with my mother. We were trying to put her into a bigger room so that I could sleep in the room with her, so someone could keep an eye on her. I mean, we knew she was sick. We didn't think she was close to dying, unfortunately. And when I asked her to come on, like, move, we need you to go into the other room, she did look down. She didn't look directly at us. She looked down and just said, I'm not ready yet. I just need a bit more time, which was quite confusing. But the night of the reading, she basically said to me was, she wasn't talking to me or my uncle. She was looking at her brother David, who had passed on, and he was telling her, it's almost time.
Wow.
And that was her telling him, I'm not ready yet. I need a little bit more time. Now, unfortunately, she didn't get very much more time because it was that evening, coming into the next morning, that she actually passed away.
Oh.
So she didn't actually get the time she was looking for. But I do think that she held on as long as she possibly could that night. As I said before, it was the first time in a long time the whole family were together in the house at the one time. So it was almost as if she was waiting for everyone to be there before she passed away.
What did you get out of the reading with Rosie, connecting with your mother and all the rest of it? But what did you get out of it? I mean, did you find that the reading was helpful? Did you find that connecting with Mum after she passed away was closure?
I definitely did. As I previously said, you know, I was very upset. Even to this day, there's only particular days I allow myself to get upset because I know it upsets her more. And that's from speaking to Rosie. I know that if I get upset, she's upset in spirit world and she doesn't want us to be upset. But what it actually done was...
Very hard not to as well.
It is very hard not to because it is your mother. She has passed away and, you know, everybody grieves differently.
Absolutely.
But after getting the reading from Rosie, it was the first night in a long time that I actually slept without worrying or without thinking, God, you know, could I have done anything more? You know, should I have said this or should we have done things differently? It was the first time in a long time that I gave a big sigh and relaxed.
Yeah.
Because it was the first time that I actually genuinely felt that she's okay. And I know she's okay.
Yeah.
And I know that I couldn't have come away from that reading with that feeling if Rosie wasn't spot on with the information that she gave me. I mean, like I said, I wasn't even supposed to get the reading. She came in and said, you know, who's your friend?
Yeah, she came through in a friend's reading who was actually at the house party. That's, wow.
That's right. And the other thing I suppose I really should clarify is when she came through on my friend's reading, she kept saying Eileen and David. Now, my mother was from Manchester. So when she said Irene, she said the R with a bit of a twist. So it could have sounded like an L.
Yeah.
So a lot of people got her name confused. Everybody called her Eileen instead of Irene. So it wasn't until, obviously, I went in and actually sat and spoke to Rosie that I realised, hang on a second, she's been nudging people out of the way
trying
here.
To get through.
Yeah.
Wow, that's lovely.
It was
really
lovely. It was very, very calming, I have to admit. Not just for me, also for my sister, because afterwards I rang her and, you know, told her everything that happened, and I think it didn't just put me at ease, it put everybody else at ease. And
considering, you know, your mother went quite sudden, and like you said, there was no chance to say goodbye. There was no chance to. Rosie really hit on that for you and your family. That
she did. There was a lot of stuff, I suppose, that I didn't say to other members of, like, my sister and my brothers for fear of upsetting them, which
is understandable when everybody's in a grieving state.
Exactly, because you don't want to keep dragging things up and saying, oh well, what about this? What about that? What she really done for me was, I suppose, she made me realise that, okay, she's physically gone, but she's still there.
Absolutely.
And even to this day, and my mum's dead 7, almost 8 years now, so it would have been maybe about, 6.5 years ago that I got the first initial reading from Rosie.
Okay, yeah.
But even to this day, that whole reading still gives me comfort. And not only that, I'm not scared, and I know people would probably, skeptics will say, oh, stuff doesn't happen. I know it does. There's been a few little things around me, where I've smelled her perfume or, something has happened and I can say, right, that's Mum.
Well, I personally can say I've been read by Rosie, and I have to say she has put goosebumps on my...
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like you said, Rosie is an extremely straight person.
Yeah.
I've been to an awful lot of psychics, an awful lot of fortune tellers and stuff like that. Rosie's extremely straight.
Yes.
To the point where you'll either like her or you won't. Yeah.
I think it's not even a case that people won't like her. I think it's because she's so spot on with the information that she gives, it scares them.
Yeah.
And they don't want to admit, oh, she was fantastic, which she genuinely is.
Yeah.
I mean, within 5 minutes of sitting in that room, I was bawling my eyes out. And it wasn't because she was scaring me or she was frightening me. It was because I couldn't believe that she was coming out with information, even kind of inner thoughts that I'd had, that I hadn't verbalised to anybody else. She was able to say to me, you need to stop feeling like that.
Yeah.
Your mum is watching you and she's telling me, stop. And to be able to have someone that, I'd never met before, I'd never spoke to, I'd never had any kind of connection with, to be able to sit and tell me things that I was only thinking that I had never said, that just for me was unbelievable. And even to this day, it still gives me the comfort that I need.
I know previously 2 girls got a reading off Rosie. Rosie was recommended to them, and she told one of them that she told the both of them that they'd go on holiday.
Yeah.
And I think they would meet their soulmates on holiday, and that was it, and they would move house and blah blah blah. And I remember clearly at the time she was raising for Temple Street. Definitely Temple Street she was raising for, and 2 of the girls said, well, I gave the money, it's going to charity, but I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And a couple of years later, they went on holiday, they went to see a football match. She told them there was the colour green around the two blokes they were going to see. They actually went and saw a Celtic match. Yeah. They met two guys over there and they married them. One is living over in Scotland at the moment and the other one's living here. And they have gone back to her for a reading 5 years later. She was spot on to the point with one of them. Yeah. Where she told them, you will have a baby boy. Yeah. You know, you will lose a child before that, but you will go on. Yeah. She is definitely...
No, definitely. There's nothing about Rosie that I could ever say was fake or false. Yeah. Again, you know, I highly recommend people to try her out themselves, you know, because you're only going to believe it with your own eyes, which I tell people all the time. But just with regards to the likes of her fundraising and all that, I mean, I know for a fact that she doesn't take that money and spend it on herself, because that first initial reading that I done with her, she knew I had no money and didn't charge, didn't ask anybody for money for me. She just knew that there was someone there who had a message for me and she knew she needed to pass it on. And I mean, she spent the longest time with me than she did with anybody else who had paid. Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that she does all this and she gives this money away, it just shows the kind of genuine, honest person that she is, which is, again, is what I love about her. I have been to see other people since Rosie who have absolutely let me down, because I hold her in such high regard because the information she gives you is completely spot on. Yeah. And I have always felt slightly disappointed coming away because the information they give me is so off point. Yeah. That it is a case of, oh, I'm just going to tell you what I think you need to hear, and I'm going to pocket this 50 quid, and that's it. And I swore after the last time there was no way. If I need anything, I'll go to Rosie. Yeah,
absolutely. Like I said about Rosie, she's such a straight person in general. Yeah. As a person, she's actually quite straight. And when she's doing a reading, she still is that straight person. Absolutely. I know that she read that girl before she went on holiday, and I know for a fact the girl was in a relationship, and Rosie kind of said, it's your own fault that you're in the rut you're in, and it's your own fault that you won't want... And the problem with Rosie is she's so honest. Yeah. And she's so straight to the point. People are shocked that they're not going in to see this woman who's dressed like a gypsy, who's going to...
who has the typical crystal ball and the chains hanging off. Like, no, she's so normal, which is what I love about her. She's just like any mammy that you'd see on the street, or, you know, she's just like... Because people do have the, you know, the stereotypical look. Absolutely. You know, you get people who dress in the headscarves and you have an eye drawn on their forehead, but she's not like that at all. To walk past her on the street, you would never think, oh my God, she's a psychic.
I know. That's great, Caroline. Thanks a mil for your time.
No problem at all.